This is my Greek pasta salad with crispy air fryer salmon. This is a delicious and healthy recipe. You'll never know it's good for you because it tastes that good. For the full ingredient list, check the description box below. But enough talking, let's get cooking. So the first thing we got to get going is our pasta, and the pasta for this recipe we're going to choose is orzo. You could choose any of like the smaller shaped pastas. So to this boiling water, we're going to add a little salt, and it's got to be super salty. You want it salty just like the ocean. So now to the boiling salted water, we're going to add about a cup of the dried orzo, and we're going to cook this until it's al dente. Follow whatever directions you have on the pasta that you're using. That is the best way to make sure that the pasta comes out like you want it. So while that pasta is cooking, let's chop up our vegetables. This is a really easy pasta salad. So we're gonna start off with these cherry tomatoes. So you can use any kind of tomatoes. I really like these small little tomatoes for a salad. One, because they cut really easy, and two, there's just a perfect bite every time you cut one in half. So these are pretty simple. I'm just gonna take my knife, slice them in half. And you can try that technique where they put them in between two plastic lids and cut them all at the same time. I've never had that work for me. I think for that to work, you need perfectly uniform tomatoes. And you can see that the tomatoes that I'm using are all different shapes and sizes. So that's never gonna work. So I'd rather just cut them individually, fall into a nice rhythm of cutting them. Next going in is gonna be this green pepper. So to cut the green pepper, we're gonna take off one side, and now we're gonna roll it, remove the flesh from all the way around, then cut the bottom off. And this I still find is the best way and the easiest way for maximum yield on a pepper with the least number of knife strokes. So now from here, we'll just start with the bottom. We're gonna cut that into strips and then turn the strip sideways. Rocker, chopper. And we'll do the rest for the remainder of the pepper. Next up, we're gonna put about a half of a red onion in there that we're gonna put a small dice on. And everything in this salad, we're gonna try to cut pretty finely. Pasta salad, especially with the small orzo, you wanna be able to eat it very delicately, no big chunks inside this pasta salad. Next up, we're gonna put some of these kalamata olives, and I'm just gonna slice these. These are already pre-pitted. So if you're gonna do this recipe, you gotta start with the pre-pitted ones. Otherwise, it's gonna take forever to remove the pit and also slice them. What I like to do is take them and dump them out on a little paper towel so it starts to absorb some of the oil that they're packed in. And now from here, I'm gonna slice them into little rings. And you can buy pre-sliced ones too, but I find that the higher quality olives are usually whole. You can get them pitted, but the pre-sliced olives, I think they tend to not be as good as these whole ones. Oh, those onions still getting me in my eyes. Cutting these olives too is a good test to see if you're nice or sharp, because if you're mushing all these olives, I suggest you definitely sharpen your knives. And we'll just dump these right in a bowl. So let's take a break from this prep. Our pasta's all done, so now we gotta drain it and dress it up with some olive oil. So now I'm gonna drain this. We don't have to reserve the pasta water because we're not making any sauce. And now we're gonna take this and just dump this right back in the pot. While this is cooling down and now that it's cooked, we're gonna add a little bit of olive oil. Never add olive oil to the pasta water before it cooks. You always want to add it just after. I'm going to give this a mix so the olive oil can coat the pasta so the pasta doesn't stick to itself while it's cooling. Then it turns into one big mess. So now I'm going to set the pasta aside, let it cool a little bit before we combine it with the vegetables and finish cutting everything. Next up, we're going to go to our pantry ingredients. Here I got these beautiful marinated artichoke hearts. Ooh. How do they make these jars so hard to open? Ooh. So these, just like the olives, we're gonna take a little piece of paper towel and we'll pull them out and put them on there so it absorbs some of the oil and the liquid that they're packed in. I always keep jars of this on hand. This is a great ingredient for these cold pasta salads. So we'll take about half the jar. And now to cut these, I'm just gonna cut them diagonally and just chop them up into big chunks. If they don't stay whole, that's okay. Artichokes are the true underrated vegetable. Everybody loves them and they don't even know it. So once those are chopped up, we'll put those inside of our bowl as well. Next up, we're gonna put a can of some chickpeas or garbanzo beans, whatever you wanna call them. No knife needed, we just need our can opener. We're gonna rinse and drain these before they go in. So once I drain them, I'll just give them a little bit of a rinse, and inside the bowl, chickpeas go. Last couple of things we got to put in is some fresh herbs. I like to double up on the fresh herbs in this one. So we're going to go with a little bit of dill and a little bit of some fresh parsley. The dill, you can use dry dill. I've done this before in the past, but I saw the fresh stuff. It looks and smells absolutely delicious. So I thought we're going to go double freshy for this one. Dill is super potent, fresh herb. We don't need much of it. Little bit goes a long way. I like to pull it off the stems. Some people like to cut the stems up. Not my pasta salad, so I'm just gonna pull off the little feather leaves off the dill. And I do this the same way that I pull the leaves off of everything else. Triangle fingers, 3 fingers, and pull, and it'll take off the big stem. If it leaves a small one, that's fine. And we're gonna chop this up. And in goes the dill. So now we'll do the same thing for this parsley. We'll remove the leaves from the stems. No parsley stems in my food. And now we're gonna rock our chopper until this is nice and fine. And before we dump this in there, we're just gonna take just a little bit of the parsley and we're gonna save that for sprinkle on as a garnish. The rest of this is gonna go right inside. The last thing we're gonna put in is this block of feta cheese. I don't think I'm gonna put in the whole thing. I think I'm gonna take off like 2/3 of this, and we're gonna use the 2/3 of it, and I'll just save this. This block just looks like a little much. But now for this one, it's really simple. We don't need our knife. We're just gonna crumble it into big chunks right inside, and we're gonna make them really irregular. Some small, some large. I'll give it a nice crumble. And if there's any big chunks in there, totally fine. And that looks like the perfect amount of cheese. But if you're cheesing up, put the whole thing in. Almost forgot about one of these vegetables. It's inevitable no matter how many lists I have for these recipe videos. I always forget something, so good thing we didn't mix it up. Now we're gonna cut up and peel these little mini Persian cucumbers. You can use the full-size cucumbers, but I really like using these for salads because you can cut them up. There's not a lot of mush in the middle, so all you gotta do is take the peel off, cut them into small pieces, and they go really nicely in a salad without adding a lot of slime that you usually need to remove from the inside of the larger cucumbers. So when I'm taking the peel off, I'm just taking off most of it, not all of it. So I'll just go all the way around, take off, I don't know, 75 to 80% of the peel. And now we'll just clip the tops and bottoms off of all of these. And now I'll split these 2 ways. One way, and then we'll cut them into quarters. And then cut them into small little pieces. Perfect salad cucumbers. Could probably even do 2 at once. Cucumbers are super friendly chopping vegetables. We could take these, we could push them all here, and I can chop down on them. Or I could take them and run my knife and pull my knife through. Both work for cucumbers. And I think that's just enough. I'll eat this one. So before we combine everything, let's make our dressing. So to this container, we're gonna add a couple tablespoons of olive oil. A little splash of this white wine vinegar. And this white wine vinegar has a reddish tint to it because this is my chive vinegar. I'll show you how to make that once the chive blossoms come out this year. I'm gonna put the juice of 1 lemon. A little Dijon mustard. Now into this dressing, we're gonna shred in 2 fresh garlic cloves. So I'm gonna take my super fine shredder. You can use a microplane too. I just happen to have this one out. And we're gonna give that a shred right in there. And fresh garlic is super potent. So maybe if you're super sensitive, you only put 1 in, but we're gonna put 2 big cloves of garlic in there. We're gonna sprinkle in some of my base seasoning. This is a blend of garlic powder, onion powder, salt, and pepper. We're gonna put in a dried herb mix. This is a little Italian blend. You can put like an herb de Provence, but any dried green herb will probably do for this. And if you don't have that, maybe a little dried oregano. And lastly, we're gonna put in a little avocado oil mayonnaise. You can use regular mayonnaise too. This is just the mayonnaise that I prefer. Now we're gonna whisk that all together. Until it's nice and creamy and all well incorporated. Now let's combine everything. So first I'm gonna put the cooled pasta in. And I'll give this a little bit of a mix just so it's not so clumpy before we put it in. But once it starts mixing with everything else, it'll mix really nicely. And I like to let the pasta cool down before. If you're in a rush, you could throw it in there hot, but sometimes I think it softens up the vegetables, the heat from the pasta. And you can see here, I don't have a lot of pasta for the amount of vegetables that are in this bowl, because this is how many carbs I want for this amount of vegetables. If you want to add more pasta to this, feel free and make it a little bit more pasta heavy. But what I like about this recipe is that you can make it very vegetable heavy, even though it's a pasta salad. And now in goes our dressing. And now we'll give this a mix. This is one of my favorite parts of cooking, is when you get all this stuff and you put it inside of a bowl and then you get to mix it and all the colors come together and the dish really just takes shape, because all these things were all individual things just a few minutes ago, and now you give it a little bit of a mix and look at this pasta salad pop up. And recipes like this are great because they can, check your pasta box. If you got like a pasta tooth and you're trying to clean stuff up with your diet, you can still eat pasta, just not the pasta that you want to. You can eat this pasta. But this pasta is so delicious, you'll probably want to too. Once this is all nice and mixed up, we're gonna take this and we're gonna put this in the fridge. We'll let this cool down for a bit and let all the flavors come together. Now let's make the protein that's gonna go on top of this salad for my lunch today. So I got my salmon here that I'm gonna cut 2 pieces off, because I just wanna make 2 pieces right now. I think salmon, especially the way that I'm gonna do it right now, it's gonna cook so fast. So whenever you wanna make this recipe again, all you gotta do is cut a fresh piece, throw it in the air fryer, and then it's all done. So we're gonna always cut and cook our pieces fresh. So here I got this large piece of Atlantic salmon. I'm just gonna give it a little bit of a pat with some paper towel. And I'm gonna move it onto a piece of paper towel so the skin on the bottom can get nice and dry. The reason I'm gonna cook the salmon the way I'm gonna cook it is I really like a nice crispy skin. Maybe you don't eat the skin, you don't gotta do it this way, but I love my crispy salmon skin. And the drier it is, the crispier I can get it. So once that salmon is nice and patted dry, we're just gonna check it for any pin bones. This seems to be pretty good. They seem to have gotten all the bones out of this one. So I'm gonna work off this premier end of salmon. I'm gonna cut this over here. We're gonna set this piece aside. And now I'll cut 2 pieces right off this middle section. And we'll go maybe like 3 fingers wide. And to get an equal piece, just line it up right there. And then we'll cut this one. And then we'll save this. This will be dinner maybe tomorrow. Now let's season these 2 pieces. First, we're gonna go with a binder of just a little olive oil right on the top. And I'll take this and just rub this in with my hand. And now to that, we're gonna start off with just a little bit more of my base seasoning. This is that blend of garlic powder, onion powder, salt, and pepper. And if you haven't made any of this, you should. So a little light sprinkle right on the top. And now here's a seasoning alert. So this is Kinder's wood fire garlic seasoning. I've been finding that this is also another great all-purpose seasoning you can put on everything. And we'll give that a little sprinkle right on the top. And now we'll just get in there with our hand and pat the seasoning in, make it nice and even, make sure we're getting the sides too. So how we're gonna cook this salmon is we're gonna crisp the skin on the bottom here in the pan, and then we're gonna transfer it over into the air fryer and finish up so it gets nice and crispy on the top. So the first thing we're gonna do is preheat our air fryer because this only needs a couple of minutes in the pan before we transfer it over there. So we want it hot as soon as we stick it in. So now I'm gonna get my cast iron pan hot over a medium-high heat. So once this pan is nice and hot, we're just gonna add a little bit of oil on the bottom. And now in goes our salmon fillets. They should get nice and sizzly. Get that skin nice and crispy. And so we're gonna cook this for a minute or two before we put this in the air fryer. And this is just gonna get the bottom nice and crispy. So after just a couple of minutes, the bottom is probably nice and crispy. I can start to see the salmon start to get cooked on the edges where it's starting to brown. So now we're gonna take this and throw this in our preheated air fryer, pan and all. And I find that this pan fits really nicely in my air fryer. So now we're gonna cook that in the air fryer for anywhere between like 5 to 10 minutes. We're gonna get a nice crust on the outside of that salmon and that nice crispy skin on the bottom. So after about 10 minutes in the air fryer, he's got these nice, beautiful crust on the outside. You can tell we did a pretty good job here because we got this nice crust on the bottom and I don't have any of the albumin oozing out on the outside. So this salmon's gonna have a nice crust on the outside, perfectly crispy skin, and it's not gonna be overcooked. So now to let this cool, I'm gonna use my fish spatula and I'm gonna let these cool on a wire rack so they don't continue to cook inside the pan. And we can get that nice crispy skin on the bottom. Once that cools down, I'll show that to you. So while that fish is cooling, let's start to plate our pasta salad. Before we plate it, we're gonna give it a little bit of a mix. This looks absolutely amazing. So a couple scoops right inside this bowl. And the great thing about this salad is it's mostly vegetables, so I can eat a pretty big bowl of this and it's really not that much pasta and it's mainly vegetables. And now let me show you that crispy skin on the salmon. Look how crispy that salmon skin came out. This is gonna be so good. You can see that if I run my knife over it, how nice and crispy that sounds. So good. So now we'll take that salmon, we'll put that right inside the middle, and just a little sprinkle of parsley right on the top, make those colors pop. That's why you clicked on the thumbnail. Now we're gonna add just a lemon slice to squeeze on right before we eat it. And now how amazing does this pasta salad look? Super vibrant, very fresh. Came together in minutes. I'm super excited to try it. So before I eat this, I think I just want to pull off the skin on the bottom and just eat this all by itself because I absolutely love the crispy skin. My favorite way to do this is just to roll it up and just eat it. This is gonna be such a delicious treat. And if you don't like salmon skin or crispy skin, I don't know what to tell you, I do. Just that bite alone, it is so worth it to make the salmon like that. So now let's squeeze some of this fresh lemon on top. I'll just put it right over the fish. And now let's try to get everything in one bite. So the pasta salad is all mixed really well. We'll get this piece of salmon right on top. The salmon is cooked really nicely. It's glistening on the inside, nice and crispy on the outside. That is unreal good. It's so fresh and so vibrant. The crispiness of the vegetables, the softness of the pasta, the savoriness of the salmon. Oh man, is this good. You saw how much pasta salad I made because When I like to make large quantities of food so I can meal prep for the week, all I gotta do is reach inside the fridge, grab some of that pasta salad, it'll be even better the next day, and then keep making a fresh salmon. It only takes a couple of minutes, but this is absolutely unbelievable. I feel like I'm having lunch in Santorini right now. This is so good. You know, these are the kind of meals that you're looking for when you're trying to eat a little healthier, because number one, it tastes good, because if it doesn't taste good, you're not going to eat it. Two, high in protein, high in vegetables. It's got a little bit of pasta in there, but really not that much. This checks all the boxes for me. While I'm finishing the rest of my lunch, you should check out my Italian deli style pasta salad. I'll see you over there. Thanks.